Good morning and happy Thursday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's here in the chat, and then we'll get into this. Mr. Andrew Masad in the house. Good to see you. We have Dan R, my man, Carl Coat, I Need My Card, Alexander Fleener, Zarkov, if I could say that correctly. Apologize. Vinny, what's up, man? Good to see you, dude. We have Duke Nukem, Lawnmower Man. I saw Matt Electron in here. Good to see you, buddy. Good morning. Tim I Am Crypto, Black Hat Team. Anybody else I may have missed, I apologize, but we have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. All right, Bitcoin 67,964 bucks. Get Ethereum at 3744. Looking pretty good. We're still holding pretty decently, to be honest. We have KASPA at almost 14 cents. And you guys might have seen the title of the video. How much KASPA do we need to retire by 2029? We're gonna watch a video today that kind of just a person that really doesn't have many subs, not a lot of videos, that made one, and it was kind of interesting, and I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on it. So just be nice if you don't agree with it. All right, so we're gonna say now before we get into it. All right, Solana 166 bucks. We get XRP at 52 cents, ADA's at 44 cents, ETC just under 30 bucks, LTC's $83. Things are having a little bit of a pullback. Pepe's down a decent amount, actually 8.12%. Floki's down 11.75. Render's at $10.18. Nothing else really jumping out at me. Why is Whiff up here? Why is Dog Whiff Hat up here and Bonk up here? Shouldn't they be in the meme coin section? Let me know. What is this section? Others? Weird. All right, let's move on. Crypto bubbles. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Like I said, Bonk down 16.1%. It looks to be the biggest loser of the day. Biggest winner looks like it's this Not coin, 37.1% up. Damn.
Perfect.
It's up to a penny, a little over a penny. Look at that, 122. And Mr. DJ Mines in the house.
Perfect.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. We have Orty over here, 7.7% up on the day. Leo is up 1.9. Again, this is the top 100 coins for anybody that might be new here. Pepe 7.9% down again. Floki down 11.7. We have Whiff down 10.9. Damn. Yeah, that's about it. It's really all that's popping out at me. Nothing too crazy. Sand is down 4.1. Hopefully that comes back. I got a little bit of this actually over on Coinbase. Shout out to my man Mr. Dan R putting that one on my radar. I think that'll do well if the metaverse stuff comes back a bit. We have a 13 cent again, KASPA. It is down 0.8% on the day. All right, flashbang fear and greed index looking like a 73. Let me just refresh. Yes, 73. So we're under 75, which is pretty good. Over 75, that's when I really care about this chart. But overall, it's a good gives you a good feel for the market, right? I still think we're pretty neutral between 25 and 75. It's really just kind of whatever to me, to be honest. All right, top 10 coins. Actually, let's check out the trending coins first. Beer coin. Mr. Rude Puts, did you make this coin? 18.4% up on the day.
Perfect.
Beer coin. We got this Not coin again, 35.9 over here on CoinGecko, and a MAGA hat down 6.8%. Terrible. What happened to that court case yesterday? Did he lose or win? Who knows? Does anybody know? I'm not really into politics, so I don't really care, but just wondering. Let me know. All right, moving on. Top 10 coins by coin market cap over on CoinGecko. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, Lado staked Ether, USDC, XRP, Dogecoin, and Cardano takes 10th place back from Toncoin.
Perfect.
I don't know if it's going to hold it. It's really tight race right now. $15.8 billion market cap for Cardano and a $15.6 billion for Toncoin. So it's a real close race between these two. I think Cardano's a sleeping giant, just my opinion, but you guys do what you will. Not financial advice. I just talk out my ass. We got Litecoin over here, 83 bucks. I think Litecoin's a good steal too. To be honest, I'll always DCA into Litecoin. And Ethereum Classic, I think, is going to be hopefully a sleeping giant when this Ethereum ETF actually gets trading, which would be nice. I think it's what, middle of next month or so, roughly. They say about 2 to 4 weeks, or maybe 2 to 6 weeks. I forget. You guys let me know if you know when you think that's going to come out. Render, $10.16. I think Render's going to do well as well. We're going to have to see what happens with that one. KASPA, $3.2 billion market cap as of right now. again, this is a KASPA is going to be a big topic today, right? So KASPA is coming out. Well, it's got the KRC20 tokens, right? We can more or less build meme coins and other coins on KASPA now, right? Rust protocol is being implemented. They're trying to go for a bunch of transactions per second. They're trying to solve the trilemma, which is pretty much never been solved before, and they already have more or less solved it as far as I know, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a crazy ride. I don't know where things are gonna go. I don't think nobody can predict where things are gonna go, right? But when it comes to KASPA, never seeing a bull run, I think it has a real good upside potential with it getting into the top 100 and already having a $3.2 billion market cap. It's kind of crazy. I know the meme coins can do it too, right? This dog with hat, it's a bullshit coin, has no utility, but it does have a crazy market cap. So I mean, crypto is so random. This could definitely be possible, right? Having you guys see this video later. I already watched it, but you guys, we're gonna watch it together again. I want to know what you guys think about it. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the mining segment of things, and we'll go from there. Check it out. You guys know I like to timestamp this over on Mine the ASIC. We get the Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro 21 terahash unit, making $83.39 a day. Let's see. Scroll up to Polkadot. Wow, what's wrong with Polkadot? Hold on. Let me go back. Sorry. Just at me in the chat if you guys have any questions. Polkadot. Why are you telling me to look at Polkadot? 17th place, $7.05. Polkadot I think is going to do it all right, but I'm not sure what you're telling me to scroll up to it. I'm lost. Alien Black, if I'm missing something, please let me know. All right, back to Mine the ASIC. We get the KS5 20 terahash unit, make it 79.42. We get the KS5L 12 terahash unit, make it 43.81. We got Dragon Ball Miner, whatever this is, this KS6 11 terahash unit. They just rebranded the IB Link BMKS Max, I assume, because it's the same exact wattage and hash rate. There's nothing different. I don't understand it. $37.32 for these two units. We got the Windminer K9 10.3 terahash unit, making $36.69. We got the KS3 9.4 terahash unit, making $32.31. The AL box, splitting the KS3s up over here. We got 360 gigahash, 180 watts, $31.21 for a lithium. Go check out the price for lithium real quick. Looked at it yesterday. It was down, and it's down further from yesterday. $1.57. This coin's getting hammered. Something needs to happen. Something needs to change. This coin is really getting beat up. It's pretty terrible. Lost a 0 on Cats of Crypto. Get out of here. That's awesome. Is it on CoinGecko? It's all one word. I thought, oh, hold on. I just saw it, kinda. Dude, Cats of Crypto has been killing it. Look at this. Damn. Yeah, I woke up this morning and looked at it. I was like, holy shit. This coin is like, it's insane how fast it's growing. But hey, to each his own, not financial advice. You guys do what you want. Just be careful with all sorts of coins, obviously. Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Crypto KJ in the chat. What are you giving me? What is this? Oh, it's the bird eye. Gotcha. Bird eye for Cats of Crypto. So what is this? All the buys and sells? It's been a lot of transactions with it. Damn. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy how much is going on here. All right, I'm gonna get out of this. That site is like glitching out on me. It wouldn't move. All right, anyways, let's move on to the KS3 from ICE for an 8 terahash unit, $26.97 a day, and the KS3M is only making $17.83. Bruh. That's kind of terrible. All right, moving on to the Antminer L7. You guys know I got this thing hosted down at Terra Hosting, paying 9.5 cents per kilowatt hour. We have, this is a Litecoin and Dogecoin miner. Sorry, that is not my unit. This one is my unit, 9050 right here. Making $12.68 per day, which is amazing for a 3+ year old unit. I love this. I wish I bought more L7s, to be honest. I really do. I kind of wish I bought another one of these instead of my S19K. I don't know what you guys feel about that. Let me know in the chat. Would you have bought an S19K or an L7 if you had the money? I know it's a bit more. You could probably get two S19Ks for the price of an L7, but you're in negative for the S19K. There's no way around it. I couldn't even sugarcoat it. There's no chance. The 2 terahash unit over here, Ice River KS2. We got $5.78 a day. Man, that's terrible. X16Q, I got one of these things. Actually, I shut it off, but it's right here next to me. I was just too hot down here. We have $4.39 a day mining ETC and ZIL. Ooh, ETC, didn't they go through their 5th inning already? I think they went through it. We're going to check in a few minutes. KS1 1 terahash unit making $2.89 a day. Damn. Bruh. That's terrible. Oh, it's so bad. Where's the KS0 Pro? Right here. KS0 Pro 200 gigahash unit at 100 watts making 63 cents a day. Terrible. Terrible. Crank that bad boy back up. Yeah, you know what? I was going to put it in the solar trailer, but then I realized, or I got some pretty crappy news yesterday. My solar stuff, my inverter, my brand new inverter that I just ordered, I'm waiting on, is back ordered until the middle of July. Yeah. So, kind of pissed about that. I'm not going to lie, but whatever. They're going to ship me everything else out, but so I can, like, you know, build the gazebo, get the solar panels ready. I can get the trench over to the trailer. So I still have a lot of stuff to do, but it just sucks, like, having to wait for the freaking inverter. It's like, I don't know. I might upgrade it. I haven't decided yet. I have to sit down and actually look at things today. Ice River KS0 over here. We're making 28 cents a day. This is the OG. If you guys have that, 65 watts. Like, these units are perfect to run on solar. I don't even care what they make, because it's just like just stacking crypto with free power. So is what it is. We got down here. Ooh, look at this. The S19K Pro 120 terahash unit. You guys know I got this thing down at Terra Hosting as well. I am making a penny a day. At least it's not payback time never. It's only 10,966 months. I guess it could always be worse. It could be like, you could say this. I could just say never. All right, we're moving on. GPUs. Let's get over here at hashrate.no. See what the most profitable coin is today. Able seems to be the most profitable coin pretty much across the board for literally every coin. What is happening? I mean, every card rather. What about Zealous? Why isn't Zealous on here? Because it's actually doing really well. That's what I'm mining personally. So I don't know what's going on with this. What is Able? Is anybody actually making money on Able? Let me know, please, in the chat if you guys are mining this. All right, let's see. CPUs, Zephyrus, I assume. Oh, wait, what? Verus coin. What? I haven't seen anything besides Zephyrus on this chart in a long time. What is Verus coin looking like? Let's see. Verus. It's almost $1. Damn. Wow, I gotta find that wallet. I don't know where that wallet is. Damn it. I gotta find this wallet. All right, well, actually, you know what? It had a pretty big pullback. Let's see. Let's go to the year. All right, so it's not as good as I thought it was. It's still around $1 though. That's pretty decent, because you can mine this on your cell phone. So whatever. That's what I have in the solar trailer. I gotta get those things back on, or I gotta figure those out. I don't know. Phone mining is a pain in the ass though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how Retro Mike does it. Shout out to him though for having the patience. All right, moving on. New coins. Let's see what we got. Cobra Dag, Pyron Hash coin, another meme coin, I assume. I think I've seen this. I think we saw this the other day. Didn't we see this the other day? It says it's only 35 hours old. This might have been here yesterday. I forget. Anyways, yeah, to each his own. Do what you want. If you guys get off this site, please do it at your own risk. My computer's VLAN, so it should be all set. Looking at this launch date, 25th of May. All right, 5 days ago came out. Let's see. About Cobra Dag. We are a team of intergalactic cobras who have landed on Earth to conquer and expand our legacy. What is happening? I am out. I am not even gonna read this. Oh my god. What is wrong with people? They are smoking the good stuff. That's what's happening there. All right. Oh, here we go. Ethereum Classic, 15 hours. I thought it happened yesterday. It's going through a fifth inning in 15 hours, 2.56 per block to a 2.048 block reward. Kyla Coin is going through a hard fork algo change in 29 hours to flex. That matters to anybody. Gold Cash going through its halving in 15 days, 0.25 to 0.125. We have, I always butcher this name. I'm done saying it. This coin is going through a hard fork. It's going through it, or a hydro fork. I don't know what the hell the difference is, but if you guys want to explain it, feel free. All right, let's move on to the news segment of things. I want to get into all this stuff, and then we're going to get into that video that I was talking about. How much KASPA do we need to retire by 2029? It's kind of an interesting theory. So let's see what they got to say over here on CNBC first. It would be very difficult for the Fed to hike rates, says New York Life Investments' Lauren Goodwin. Let's get into it.
The battle between rates and tech, one keeping the S&P on edge, the other keeping investors buying in. So which will decide the fate of this rally? Let's ask New York Life Chief Market Strategist Lauren Goodwin and Invesco's Global Market Strategist Brian Levitt, both, as you see, are with me here at Post 9. It's nice to see both of you.
Nice to see you.
Lauren, that's what this is about, right? Rates backing up. I said the 2 years near 5%. And the stock market doesn't like it because the Dow's down about 400.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of movement this week with respect to rates, but I think this is just the calm before the storm. We're about to set up for a lot of economic data that will skew the investor perspective in one direction or the other. We're getting inflation data on Friday,
PCE.
Manufacturing data on Monday, jobs next week. This is an environment where the balance of risks that the Fed is trying to navigate could very well shift over the course of next week.
But you make the argument that the data over the next week is, quote, likely to prove out the Fed's cutting bias and that the PCE is going to be good.
Yeah, I think that
the market doesn't think that.
I think that what the market's been hearing from Fed speakers over the past couple of weeks is that their balance of risks is they're really trying to navigate a tightrope where the economic news has been strong, earnings has been strong. That's why we see some of the tech names really still flying, and that they haven't seen enough progress on disinflation yet. The all else equal there is the labor market, and I do expect that, much like in last month's labor market data, we're going to see continuing signs of slowdown, which I think will give the markets reason to be relatively optimistic about that cutting bias.
Brian, we've seen this movie before.
We have.
Right? Markets going great.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, rates back up. Hello, April lows. And then, rates sort of backed off, and we had a rally back.
Yeah. There's an
set up for that?
Well, there's an irony about it because strong nominal growth is good for corporate earnings, and in a strong nominal growth environment, you don't get rate cuts. But investors should probably prefer strong nominal growth and no rate cuts to weaker nominal growth and many rate cuts. So we've spent a lot of this year with the will they or won't they, and when and by how much, how many, right? And the irony of it is the market, at least the broad market, has done well because we've been in a good nominal backdrop and we've been in a good earnings backdrop.
We've narrowed again.
We have narrowed
right? I mean,
again,
here we are yet again. We're talking about some mega cap names that are driving the bus. Again, it's Nvidia, it's Apple. I said Amazon. There are a couple of others that were like around the flat line that I didn't necessarily want to mention because I wasn't sure if I said positive they'd be negative when we showed them. But you get my point.
I do get your point. And if you think back to November and December of last year, the market quickly priced in 6 rate cuts, and small caps and mid caps, so think of broadening out, had a very quick bull market. I mean, that was what a lot of us had hoped for in 2024, and it all happened in 2 months. Then you had to price out those rate cuts, which again is what we're doing. And as you price out the rate cuts, the smaller businesses that tend to have a little bit more leverage get hurt in that environment. So in order for this to broaden out, you would likely need to see a still reasonably good backdrop, but a Fed that starts to slowly normalize the yield curve. That would be the proverbial no landing or maybe really soft landing that investors have been looking for.
Lauren, it's a funny market. 1 minute it's a good news is good news market, and the next minute it's a good news is bad news market for the very implications that Brian laid out. What it means for the Fed, what it means for possible rate cuts, how many we're going to get, and when. Do you think the market can accept the fact that good news is in fact good news and that rate cuts don't matter because the economy is still good?
Andrew Masad in the chat said the Fed would rather keep rates high. They want us all poor.
I think that we have been seeing that since April. As Brian mentioned, we've moved from an environment over the course of the year where we were expecting 6 rate, or the market was pricing in 6 rate cuts. We've moved to 1.5, and with the exception of a little bit of tumult in April, it's been a pretty easy going process. And so I think we've seen
rates have come down. right? Rates had come down, they allowed the market to rally back. Now here we are, rates are backing up again, and the market's, has a couple of days where it looks like it's falling apart a little bit.
Here's what I feel pretty confident in that's been swirling around the market in the past couple of days. I think it will be very, very difficult for the Fed to hike rates. And that's not because, 25 basis points higher makes a real meaningful economic growth difference. It's because the signal that sends to the market, it would be very likely to tighten financial conditions. Even the breadth of potential rate hikes, I think, would contribute to a slowdown in the data that'd be relatively rapid.
All right, shout out to CNBC for that. All right, let's move on to CNBC again. Nvidia not overvalued despite low forward PE and market cap. Let's get into it. See what they got to say about Nvidia. Nvidia's going through a stock split in like what, 7 days or 10 days?
The low PE, and again, I think, sub 40, if that's still where we are, is pretty good for what this company is up to, is often cited as a reason why Nvidia can still go on a strong run from here. Do you think that's likely to be the case? What do you think about the valuation?
Yeah, I think it's entirely fair. I mean, 40 is a big number. The market trades for 20, so it's double that. But it does have this locked-in growth rate from all the companies that want to invest in generative AI. And so its glide path is still pretty strong. And against that metric, it looks pretty good. I'd also note that the highest Intel ever got in the 1990s was number 3 in the S&P. And we're now talking about NVIDIA perhaps getting to number 2. So it is interesting that chip companies do kind of have a little bit of a cap as to where they can end up in market cap. But given that NVIDIA's got, I think, a much stronger story than Intel in the 1990s, I do think it can keep working from here.
Sean, turning to you, what are your thoughts on it?
Sure. So just to step back a little bit and put this in historical context, there's always the element that we should be wary when we see very high price to earnings ratios. If we look back through the historical data, what we find is that stocks with high prices relative to earnings generally struggle to generate enough earnings to repay those high valuations. Now, this is a broad feature rather than something that applies on every individual basis, but it should kind of set your baseline expectations that for a company that has a fairly high price earnings ratio relative to the market, you should already be scrutinizing where it's going to find those extra sources of growth. Now, NVIDIA in this case actually has performed quite well in the last couple of years, where it's really increased its earnings substantially and has actually brought its price earnings ratio down.
Right.
Even though the level is quite high, it used to be substantially higher. So it may be an exception here where it is able to generate sufficient earnings growth to justify those high valuations.
Yeah,
it'll really depend on demand for its product is.
Well, and interestingly enough, now we're citing a forward PE of closer to 47. So I shouldn't keep saying 38 when the price run up has moved the needle a little bit on that. Maybe the stock split is doing that. But Nick, the point about earnings, I don't know if we can show a historical PE chart for them or for other stocks. But if you go back to probably 2010, Netflix had a PE over 100. And there was massive debate at the time about whether it was justified. And in the long run, honestly, it was. Tesla, a little more recently, maybe during COVID, had a PE of around or a little bit over 100. That seemed to mark more of a sign of a short-term top. So what to you, is there a number at which, PEs mean something? Are they all just gauges of momentum, or do we think NVIDIA can kind of earn into the high ratio that it has?
Well, I tell you, I used to work for Steve Cohen, and he would drill into our heads that valuation at a single stock company level just doesn't work for picking stocks that go up or down. So on a single stock level, I don't worry too much about PEs, whether it be 10, 40, or 100. I'm looking for the incremental earnings growth that can come over time. And additionally, Professor Vendenbeiser's work has shown that 1 to 2% of stocks generate all the long-term returns in stock markets around the world.
Wow.
So you have to look for those 1 or 2% of stocks that are going to work over 10, 15, 20 years. NVIDIA is clearly in that camp, and based on the enthusiasm around generative AI, should continue to be in that camp. So it is one of those must-own stocks.
Sean, the question that for me is a little bit more difficult to answer is how big a company is NVIDIA going to be potentially? If it's already, what did we say, $2.5 trillion in size, and if it runs up another, let's just say it doubles from here, which the stock investor would probably think is conservative. Are we talking about a $5 trillion company? I don't know if people want to incorporate buybacks into that, but on sheer size alone, is NVIDIA, I would love to know the economics and kind of the market history behind a company of that sheer size, putting the PE totally aside.
Right. So there's certainly the element of how large a company this can eventually become in terms of how large the eventual market can become for the product that it's selling. Now, one point I'll highlight here is that a lot of the discussion with NVIDIA revolves around what the prospects for AI will be going forward. But one element that doesn't get, say, as much discussion is that when you're buying into NVIDIA, you're not just making a bet that, say, AI or AI-needed chips are going to take off and dominate the market going forward, but you're making a bet that it will be specifically NVIDIA that continues to dominate that market 10 to 15 years down the road. And I think that's where there becomes a little bit more difficulty in trying to evaluate whether it will earn enough to repay, say, a $5 or $6 trillion valuation. It's not just a question of how much demand for AI processing power will go up, but whether this company can remain as the dominant figure there. Because what we've seen in the past is that there are many industry leaders that are eventually supplanted. It's relatively difficult to remain the industry leader for 10 to 15 years. And there's obviously the example of, say, Cisco, the most valuable company in the world in 2000, which eventually was unable to really reap the benefits of increasing use of internet services for all those transformative elements that we saw develop, but largely profited other companies rather than Cisco.
All right, shout out to CNBC for that. Real quick, dude, Cats of Crypto is killing it. This is insane. It's crazy. Look at this over on Bird's Eye. Or Bird Eye, rather. Look at this. 0.0001 as of right now. Crazy. Shout out to our long lost friend, Mr. Ovalbore. Gonna miss him forever. Oops, dragged the whole thing over. All right, let's move on to the next thing over here. The pace at which NVIDIA is innovating is unprecedented, says Anchor Crawford. I don't know if that's how you say that. Let's get on into this, see what they got to say, and then we're going to get into the KASPA stuff after Crypto World.
Joining us at Post 9 is Alger Capital Portfolio Manager Anchor Crawford. It's good to have you back. Welcome.
Good to be here.
And so NVIDIA's second biggest weight in your capital appreciation fund behind Microsoft. After even just a week like this, what do? Do you leave that alone? Do you trim some?
I think when you're so early on in a paradigm shift in a compute cycle, and you own the company that's the dominant compute platform, you leave it alone for now. May it pause and rest for a few months? Sure. It's been known to do that. It's done that many times before. But as long as the numbers keep going up, the multiple will keep going up.
And you say we're so early on. How do you determine where we are in all of this?
It's really hard.
Yeah, NVIDIA's
but one can look, the TAM and the opportunity for AI, for Gen AI, for a time of parallel compute it's just starting. And the opportunity, I mean, Jensen has described it as $1 trillion installed base plus another $1 trillion of additional TAM in the market. So it's a very large TAM. I think it's hard for us to even imagine how big the TAM is, but it is very large.
One of the things that stood out in the print last week is their adjusted operating margin close to 70%, and a lot of conjecture about how that can stand, right? How long that can exist before another company tries to come in with some product maybe almost as good and chip away at it.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is underappreciated is that semiconductors have spent a decade, almost 1.5 decades consolidating. And they've consolidated because it's really hard to do what they do. They have very, very deep moats. Secondly, if you look at NVIDIA and the pace at which they're innovating, it is unprecedented. We used to be on a kind of a 2 to 4 year cycle. Intel had a tick-tock cycle. Every 2 years they had a new chip, a new architecture every 4. NVIDIA's accelerated that to 1. That is incredible. So if they can stay on this innovation curve, it's going to be very hard for the rest of the market to catch them.
It looks like I'm looking at least numbers here in terms of the weighting of sort of the biggest companies. Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Meta, and Apple and Alphabet comes close to 50% of your fund. You're comfortable with that? And if so, why?
Yeah, so we are in a paradigm right now where the large are actually going to take more mind share of the market. And in part because the investment that needs to be made either by the government or it needs to be made by, companies that have huge amounts of free cash flow and they can afford to actually invest in all these. You look at what Microsoft's going to spend in CapEx, $50 billion. Google, 40 billion. Meta, $40 billion. These are big numbers.
The numbers are extraordinary. So you're in the view that essentially the biggest will continue to get bigger in part because of the advance of generative AI. They're the only ones who can actually fund it.
That's right. And so they become the platforms upon which it is built.
But how do you measure that return on investment?
So right now, we only have shreds of information on what is the ROI. If you talk to providers like Llama, what they're saying is effectively for every dollar you spend on a GPU, your return can be anywhere from $4 to $7. And that's something Jensen and his team had said on the earnings call.
Sounds good.
We're seeing paybacks of 12 to 18 months for a Gen AI data center. So the payback is there. The ROI, I believe the ROI is expressed in a different way than the market expects. The market is often focused on the productivity increases or the cost savings, and I think there's a really different way to look at it. Look at Pinterest, right? So Pinterest started deploying AI into their ad models, and were able to inflect their revenue growth and their MAUs from single digit to 12%. The stock went from 30 to 40 on that report. The ROI on that is almost infinite because they didn't spend that much in order to get those kinds of results.
Crazy. That's pretty neat. Easy ROIs on your GPUs. All right, last but not least for the news segment, we have Crypto World, CNBC Television, Bitcoin drops to 67,000 level, and Gemini returns more than $2 billion to users. That's awesome, actually. So hopefully you guys got most of your money back. Let's do it.
Today, we're on the ground at Consensus 2024, one of the biggest crypto conferences in the world. Crypto exchange Gemini returns more than $2 billion to customers after pausing withdrawals about a year and a half ago. And James Davies, the co-founder of Crypto Valley Exchange, discusses why he's among the thousands of people descending on Austin for Consensus.
The 5090 will be a 4-slot card IMO. Jeez, imagine.
Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos, on the ground here in Austin, Texas, as day one of Consensus 2024 is underway. Organizers here tell me that they expect about 15,000 people to descend on the Austin Convention Center, on par with last year's attendance. But I can say that the sentiment I'm hearing from attendees is very different than last year. People are excited to talk about the latest developments in the crypto space. And while here, we'll be speaking with some of the biggest stakeholders in digital assets and in TradFi. We'll have more from Consensus in just a bit, but first, let's take a look at the markets. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin dropped to the $67,000 level. Ether fell more than 2.5% to the $3,700 level. Solana, however, held steady at $168 as PayPal announced today here at Consensus that its stablecoin PYUSD is now available on the Solana blockchain. The development comes about 10 months after first debuting on Ethereum. According to PayPal, the Solana blockchain is known for processing massive amounts of transactions at high speeds with low costs, which provides, quote, significant benefits for the commerce use cases. Okay, let's talk about a few of the other stories that we're following. Gemini announced
It would be a riot if Soat actually just like ran up behind her.
today that it will return nearly $2.2 billion to customers of the crypto exchange's defunct crypto lending program. Now, the EARN program paused withdrawals in November 2022, and customers had their funds locked up ever since. In an email to customers today, the company, which is owned by twins Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, said that about 97% of the digital assets owed to users by Genesis, Gemini's lending partner in all of this, as of the suspension date, are now available in their Gemini accounts. This comes after Gemini's previous announcement that it had reached a settlement with Genesis and other creditors in the Genesis bankruptcy, which will result in all EARN users receiving 100% of their digital assets back in kind. Now, that means if users lent 1 Bitcoin in the EARN program, they'll receive 1 Bitcoin back as well, as any and all increases in the value of assets since they lent them into the program. The development follows a $2 billion settlement with the New York...
Wait, so they're still getting the 1 for 1, right? So that's cool. At least you're not getting the value of it. right? I mean, it could be worse.
Attorney General and Genesis meant to make defrauded crypto investors whole again. Next, Bitcoin miner Bitfarms is publicly responding today to the, quote, unsolicited takeover proposal from Riot Platforms, saying the bid significantly undervalues the company and its growth prospects. Now, that's a determination made by a special committee of the board comprised only of independent directors. Today, Bitfarms confirmed that it received a proposal from Riot on April 22nd to acquire 100% of Bitfarms' common shares at a price of $2.30 per share. Now, Bitfarms says that the company had received takeover interest from other parties and stressed that it's committed to maximum value for shareholders. Last, Ripple donated another $25 million to the digital asset super PAC Fairshake in its support of crypto-friendly political candidates. The latest donation is on top of the blockchain firm's initial contribution of $25 million last year. Ripple made the announcement this morning saying that it's proud to contribute to shaping a positive regulatory landscape in the U.S. The firm's donations account for about half of the roughly $100 million that Fairshake has raised so far from crypto companies like Coinbase and executives including Gemini's Winklevoss twins. We're sitting down with Ripple's CEO Brad Garlinghouse here at Consensus in the coming days, and we will bring you that conversation on this topic and more. All right, back to Consensus 2024 for our main story. I spoke with James Davies of Crypto Valley Exchange to find out why he came to Austin for the conference, what he's hearing from attendees on the ground, and why he thought that crypto winter was the right time to start his exchange.
Hold on. Valvidas in the chat said, ETC POW became such a joke. You only now get paid once every 2 months. What? Is that real? Are you serious? Once every 2 months? Oh my god. I feel so bad for even participating in that freaking node bullshit, because that it was profitable at first, right? Until you realize that it's just bullshit. It's so ridiculous.
So we're here at Consensus 2024. You're our first guest
that is silly.
On the ground, and I believe you landed at 4 a.m. this morning. You're coming in from the UK. And why is that? There are hundreds of conferences around the world. Why did you feel it was important to come across the Atlantic for this one in particular?
So, as we talked to lots of people across the marketplace, this is the landmark conference. This is where everybody says they're going to be, and they're going to be available to network. So if you want to make it to just a couple of...
Real quick, just for the record, I was never paid to make that video, and I spent all my own money to make all that stuff. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I abandoned it. I probably, if I had to guess, I came close to breaking even. Probably lost a couple $100 if I had to guess, but I still have the equipment, like these little machines here, these mini PCs. So it was worth it to get these, but now I gotta figure out what to use them for.
Of conferences and be able to see an awful lot of people and be able to get, a good value for money on how you're spending your time, then Consensus is one of the few names globally that you would go to.
So you and I were both at Consensus last year as well. I was talking to Coinbase about their legal fight with the SEC, a lot of centralized crypto exchanges under fire, a lot of crypto firms winding their way through bankruptcy court. This year, how would you compare the spirit on the ground so far this morning?
Well, clearly I've only been here for a few hours, but I have noticed a few things that feel different from last year. I'm seeing a lot more Patagonia vests. There are a lot more traditional finance people walking around. When you've spent a good amount of time in traditional finance, you can pick them out. So there seems to be a really positive vibe. There seems to be a lot of people in here that aren't just Web3. I can still see there's lots of hoodies, lots of Web3 builders around. So it's a good mix. It feels like strong and positive. You can see that response. And you can see a lot of the brand names around from people who you would say, well, how were they going to respond to that last year? How would they respond to the SEC? And they seem to be here. They seem to have a big presence, and they seem to be very visible.
You mentioned the mix of TradFi and folks from the Web3 space. You yourself have experience in DeFi, crypto. You're the former COO at the London Derivatives Exchange. And I think that this narrative of institutional money coming into the industry has been a big one, especially this year at the launch of spot Bitcoin ETFs last week, just getting that SEC rules change, which gives essentially the green light for spot Ether ETFs. A couple of questions, though, about institutional money, because we've seen interest wax and wane with respect to Wall Street coming into the crypto ecosystem. Is it different this time around, or is it more dedicated? And the reason I ask this is because I was going through a lot of the 13Fs. I was reaching out to the banks that now have exposure to Bitcoin through these spot exchange-traded funds, and a lot of them are saying that this is more wealth management clients who have an interest. It's not necessarily the bank endorsing crypto as a new asset class that's here to stay.
So the banks are classically driven by their buy side. So they've always been responsive to the asset managers, to the pension funds. And if your conversation points are directly with the people at the banks who are driving that flow through their prime brokerage, then that's the response you're going to get. It's always going to be about that. What I think is more interesting is when we talk to the proprietary trading desks, who have maybe a little bit more license to go in different directions. And over the last 20 years, a lot of those have spun out to the banks and set up at the side. And they also come and use the banks as service providers in traditional finance. They are here in droves. It was really notable in London, and I can already see a couple of the same faces around Consensus. And this represents individual wealth that's held within proprietary trading funds, within professional trading groups. And what they don't bring is not just a large balance sheet, which will come and trade, but will trade in a much more active way, maybe than the ETFs will, which will buy and hold, but also an enormous amount of investment in infrastructure and tooling and equipment. And we've seen this previously in other cycles, in other asset classes. Classically, we saw this in '98 through about 2001 in the whole first arrival of web and the automation. It was these people coming off trading floors and setting up businesses that really drove the adoption and the next step. And I see that here now. I see the same people and the same faces. Now, a lot of them are walking around with people who are bright and young and capable and understand how this market works alongside them. But you see the same people here and the same activity, which is really positive in terms of capital inflow into this market.
Is a spot ETF for Solana and XRP next?
Oh, that's a question. Well, I've got to say Solana, because I think Solana has such a good story around it. That it's going to be continuing that way through over the next year. The question is whether it's one of those or something else that comes through, because there's quite a large group of L2s that seem to continue to push that story. So maybe you don't even launch a spot ETF on a single coin next. Maybe you do a spot ETF against a collection of L2s or something like that that's more interesting. But Solana's definitely got a better story.
You know, we've got Bitcoin trading at around $67,000, Ether in the $3,800 range, neither too far off of those all-time highs that we saw in March. But do people even care about talking about the prices, or are the conversations more, centered on the tech and the developers and the kinds of products that are being built on blockchains right now?
This is the classical fundamental versus technical question. So technical is always interesting because we always want to look at the chart. We always want to see how well we're doing, what could the upside be, but it is a little bit of reading the tea leaves. The professionals are always looking at the fundamentals, always trying to see what the long-term drivers are, because the capital's going to be around for a lot longer. So I think most of the conversation here will be about the fundamentals, but when we all finish our day and go back to the bar and sit around and talk to people, we'll all take a look at the chart and see how things are going and what the responses have been.
So you launched Crypto Valley Exchange in December, yes?
So we put the brand out there and pushed. Our go live will be in July. Our testnet went out in December.
And what was the thinking behind that timing? Because at that point, I had just finished 5 weeks worth of covering the Sam Bankman-Fried criminal trial. He was sentenced recently to 25 years. That was also after Binance had just settled with the U.S. government to the tune of $4.3 billion. Coinbase in active litigation with the SEC about their operation. Meanwhile, they had already listed, so they had gone through many levels of regulatory approval to even get to that point to be a publicly listed country in the U.S. So you're running a centralized exchange, or you soon will be. What was the thinking behind that timing to go public with it in December?
So decentralized, but the big difference here is how to do this right. So we see a lot of different models across the decentralized and centralized spaces. We see this backstory where all of them launched perpetual futures contracts, and they launched them largely because they were payments companies, and when you're regulated as a payments company, you can't launch futures and options, you're banned from that. Perps wasn't mentioned anywhere, so they all launched perps, and then they all had to contend with the regulation changing around them, and people saying, well, actually, you are promoting financial products here. Decentralized exchanges, we still don't know how the regulation is going to deal with that space. But what we do know across all of them is that they need to be done the right way. There is an absolutely massive market demand signaled by the amount of interest in perpetual markets. It's definitely the main barrier between here and the next step for cryptocurrency is how do we get capital efficient? How do we make sure that all of the normal Web3 treasurers, the people who've raised money for their projects, are actually able to hedge out their exposures and put their capital to work in a more effective way? How do we make sure that the new players that are coming into the market that we've just talked about, the traditional financial players, are able to access the tool sets that they access for every single other asset class, from sub-Saharan Africa to rural Indonesia, inside cryptocurrency? We need futures and options, and it has to be done in a way where we're protecting people by doing it in transparent and in the light. So we believe doing that all on-chain, where everything can be verified, is the obvious solution. It's just a lot more complicated than trying to do it in a centralized way.
You announced last month that you raised $7 million. What valuation was that at?
That was at 35 million. We give 35 million fully diluted because we're in tokens.
So I've been talking to a lot of founders, and they say it's a very difficult time in general to raise money. When they do, it's at valuations that are far off of the kinds of numbers that they might have seen in 2021, 2022. How did you find the process of raising funds?
Actually, not too difficult at all. I mean, it was, for us, about a 6 to 8 week process with some relatively significant names in there who went through quite an extensive due diligence process on us. But we came to the market with everything ready to go, all of the maths on our risk, all ready to publish. We had a huge, great white paper online. I think the preparedness that we had made that much easier. And I'm seeing that as I talk to other projects via the same VCs and via other people in the network, that there is an expectation now that you need to be able to show your homework. And it's not just that you have a really nice vision. You've got to be able to articulate effectively why you're different and why you're going to have an impact, so that they can see what the return will be. You know, really trying to open up this market is ours. But if you've got the homework done, you can also do the rest of this very quickly.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World
Interesting.
today. But
All right, shout out to CNBC Crypto World for that. Let's move on to the video of the day. So this is the new or the new channel, right? Somebody actually sent this to me yesterday. This is how much KASPA you will need to retire Bitcoin 2.0. What do you guys think about this? For one, the title's kind of interesting, right? Tommy Does Crypto is the name of the channel. He's only got 685 subs. This video's got 6,000 views. Let's listen to see what he's got to say. Obviously, try to be nice in the chat, right? If you don't agree with it, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Let's see what they got to say. Let's do it.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how much KASPA you would need to retire by 2029. This is the 4th video on my channel, so if you haven't already, please subscribe and check out the first 3 videos after you watch this.
I put a link in the description.
Right, let's get into it. In order to answer this question, we first need to come up with a predicted price range for KASPA in 2029. Let's talk about the power law. The power law is a mathematical relationship between 2 values that can be associated with a whole range of natural and social phenomena. The power law has been used all the way from finding out genetics in animals to predicting the distance of planets away from the sun.
Now, there was a video we watched actually a couple weeks back, probably from Siam Kid, if that's how his name is said. And he explained this whole power law thing, and there's only been 2 cryptos ever to actually coincide with it, I guess, which is, you know, Bitcoin, and now this would be KASPA.
The ingenious Giovanni Santastasi, a physicist, neuroscientist, and financial analyst, was one of the main researchers behind the discovery that Bitcoin, in fact, followed a power law too. Now, if I attempt to explain how and why Bitcoin follows this power law, I simply wouldn't do it justice, so I'm going to link in the description below an article that Giovanni recently wrote about his findings. But anyway, I'll sum it up quickly. Historically, Bitcoin has followed this power law with a staggering 92% accuracy. And if it continues on this same trajectory, then we could use the power law to determine Bitcoin's future price, which is huge. Miko Geno on Twitter has claimed that for the first time since Bitcoin, KASPA is the only other crypto asset in history to follow its own power law too. He's got some great charts, so I'd advise you check him out. But using Miko's power law indicators, we can use the KASPA power law to find a predicted price range on any given date in the future. Now, obviously, the further into the future,
you guys need to take this with a grain of salt, because nobody knows where anything's going to go ever.
We look, the less accurate this might be, but we'll play around with it and see if we can come up with some realistic values.
So sustainable crypto, yeah. Dan Hart in the chat said you will need, and then you just hit a bunch of numbers, and it's a KASPA and a whole lot of smoke because you and a whole lot of smoke, weed to smoke rather, because you will need to believe, he says. But yeah, this guy's projecting way more than 25 cents. It's like really almost unrealistic. But again, I don't know. That's kind of why I want your guys' thoughts on it. It was just interesting.
Based off the historical Bitcoin 4-year halving cycles, followed by a bull run. In 2013, we had a peak in November. In 2017, we had a peak in December, and the most recent peak was in November 2021. So in theory, we could see a peak in November 2025, and maybe in November 2029 as well. So using the power law, we can find the
Wouldn't it go December, November, December?
price of KASPA in mid-November 2029.
Saying.
I'm just using this bot that automatically finds the high, low, and fair value price for KASPA using the power law for any specific date. According to this power law, KASPA should have a fair value of $30.34 in mid-November, but
What? Who thinks that's possible? Now, I was watching this and I'm like, I don't know. All right, $34 real quick. I just wanna go over this. All right, so KASPA right now at its price of 13 cents, 13.7 at Ethereum's market cap, which is $452 billion. Okay, we're at a 3.2 for KASPA. You would need a 137x, and that would only give you a $19 KASPA.
it also could be as high as $48.18. So that's an increase of 400,000% over 5.5 years. The reason I think these numbers are possible for KASPA is not just because of the power law. If you know anything about the project, you know that it is the first ever crypto to solve the trilemma.
I mean, that's true, yes.
When you pair that with KASPA's KRC20, which gives it the ability for smart contracts, it ultimately means that KASPA is going to be a real contender to be the first ever crypto that dethrones Ethereum, which...
But is that possible to dethrone Ethereum? Ethereum's ecosystem is so big. There's so much stuff that runs on it. I don't know.
Potentially could happen by 2029. Another thing to note is that the SEC is shortly making a decision about whether or not they're going to pass the ETFs
Which
for
they
Ethereum.
did. They already
And
passed it.
if they deny it, they will likely have to classify Ethereum as a security, which would ultimately pave the way for a commodity like KASPA to take stage.
And listen, I'm all for KASPA doing great things. I feel like the predictions in this video are a bit high.
And still, if the ETF does still pass, KASPA still has the real potential
Really
of overtaking Ethereum in the future. Ethereum's high fees and Solana's high congestion will be no match for the speeds of KASPA's block DAG. Now, moving on, let's find out how much money someone needs to have in order to retire. For the following figures, this is taking into consideration that the retirement money will be paid annually to you until you are 90 years old. And in this article written by Business Insider, they suggested that you would need...
Yeah, if I get copyright strikes for this music, I'm going to be so mad right now.
$6 million at your disposal at age 25 in order to retire on a comfortable $100,000 annual income. For a 35-year-old to retire on that same $100,000 annual income after retirement, they would need $5.2 million at their disposal. A 45-year-old would need $4.3 million. A 55-year-old would need $3.5 million, and a 65-year-old would need $2.5 million in order to retire.
We're gonna get to these numbers ready.
Of 100k until they are 90. So for each group category, let's figure out how much KASPA you would need. Given that from our assumptions, KASPA continues to follow the power law, we could see it hitting in 2029 a fair...
Today's price, 12 cents. All right, but listen. So like, just kind of like tinfoil hat. What were people saying about Bitcoin 12 years ago when it was like under a penny or whatever? You know what I mean? So like looking at that or thinking about that and looking at this, it's like, I don't know, maybe in 5 years we'll be like, damn, that guy wasn't crazy. Do you know what I mean?
A price of $34.34 and a high price of $48.15.
Should keep an open
This gives
mind,
us
I guess.
a price range in which we can estimate how
I know you can't compare coins, but I'm just saying in general.
much KASPA you would need to hold. Firstly, if KASPA hits the fair price target of $34.34, then for age 25, we would have to take $6 million and divide that by 34, ultimately meaning to retire at 25 years old, you would need approximately 174,000 KASPA,
I'm not gonna watch this whole
which
video,
at
but
today's prices of 12 cents would cost you around $20.9 thousand. If KASPA hits a more bullish target of $48.15, then 6 million divided by 48 would mean that in a more bullish case scenario for 2029, you could retire at age 29 if you had 124,000 KASPA, which...
All right, we're gonna stop it here. This is where we're gonna stop. If you guys want to go on and watch the rest of the retirement age stuff, feel free. It's got 3 minutes long, or 3 minutes more to go. But listen, if that happens, if that happened by 2029, buying a yacht, and I'm gonna invite all of you guys on it that are here in the chat. I feel like this is insane. I don't know. Listen, the videos, it's a good video. It's interesting to say the least, right? The power law is a real thing. It's strange to think that KASPA could go up that high that fast in 5 years rather. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about it in the chat. It's it was just a very interesting video. Again, I'll put this in the chat if you guys want to watch it, or go check out his other videos. I haven't watched the other videos. Someone sent me this one yesterday and I was like, what? I have to watch this with everybody. All right, we're going to move on to Altcoin Daily because I want to see what this little interview is about with Gary Cardone. Bitcoin price will explode, turn 1K into a million. That's going to be hard. Let's get into it.
I can't buy any more watches, villas, airplanes, homes. Like, I'm getting rid of stuff and then going, oh, let me take that and put it in Bitcoin.
Now is the time to buy Bitcoin.
If it can go to 1 million, it can go to 10 billion. Finite is finite, which means the price could go infinite, and it should go infinite.
At least according to entrepreneur and investor Gary Cardone.
We haven't even seen come to the table yet. It's not even shown up. I mean,
Is he sick? He looks like not great.
Just went through metrics with Bitwise. It's
just me.
Freaking staggering. I've been doing this my whole life. I have never seen data like this.
The conversation in this interview gets real. What's your number one piece of advice to go from $1,000 to $1 million? So smash the like button. This is the perfect video to send to somebody who truly wants to understand the bull case for Bitcoin. Now, let me introduce our guest. Gary Cardone joining us today to share some rather interesting alpha on the Bitcoin crypto market. He is a lifelong entrepreneur, founder of Cardone Digital Ventures into Bitcoin, blockchain, AI. Gary, how are you doing today?
Good, man. I'm doing awesome. If you're not doing awesome this week in Bitcoin, there's something wrong with you. You need to go see your psychologist, get a little retrained.
Exactly. I was surprised in the past year or so seeing you come out such a Bitcoin bull. Is that a fair way to describe you? It seems like you're really into it.
Well, when I come out of the closet, I do come out. I mean, I just come on all the way out. But I study something really, really. I mean, you didn't see the student in me for the prior 3 years, but yes, I have absolutely come out, probably a little bit over a year, and really have come out of the closet. I think this might be the most awesome investment opportunity I've ever seen in my life by many, many factors. And I've been blessed to see like 4 monster waves. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. I've come out very, very bullish with my pocketbook, not just theoretical exercise, by the way.
So please, break down your Bitcoin investment thesis simply for us. Like, obviously you and me are both believers, but, for the folks at home on the fence, not really sure, like, really Bitcoin? Like, what is your investment thesis?
Well, you're the perfect guy to ask that question. You're an identical twin, correct?
Correct.
And you know better than anybody here other than you and I that you are no more like your brother than I am like my brother, that I am so unique, so finite, and humanity doesn't even know how to treat that. Over the history of thousands of years, what do we do to people that have differences than we do? We make them wrong. So if we can't even value finite in human creature creative terms, I'm quite certain that we are grossly incapable of placing a financial dollar number that replicates the value of something that is truly finite and that cannot be artificially increased in the volume of the production of that product. So this is why I think everything ends up being sucked into Bitcoin, because finite There isn't any other finite. No oil, no gas, no natural gas, no gasoline, no diesel, no nuclear weapons, land, concrete, everything can be built infinitely.
Wait, Nismo, you didn't know he was a twin? Yeah, this is Aaron. The guy we usually listen to is Austin. You didn't know he was a twin? That's funny. I felt like everybody knew that.
You have enough money and energy, and that cannot happen in Bitcoin. And that changes everything.
Yeah, there's two of them. Yeah.
These power models that everybody's talking about, I got it. You went to Stanford.
They both run the channel.
Ain't never modeled this. Never. There is not a model for this. So power to the law of 6 billion, I think, is more to 21 million is going to be. That's what's got me so interested, because my first background was in the most important commodities on the planet outside of food, which is oil and natural gas and electricity. And anytime the price goes over $100, man, oil just floods the market. Natural gas goes to $3, natural gas floods the market. We're going to see what finite really looks like, and it's going to show up in the value that's placed on just that one characteristic of Bitcoin, which I maintain it has 13 characteristics that are really, really important to me. But the finite characteristic of Bitcoin is by far, if that were the only reason for me to invest in Bitcoin, it would be far enough.
So Bitcoin just fundamentally so different, so game changing. You're bullish, but then in this like macro backdrop, do you think this is still Bitcoin's time, or how do you see, Bitcoin is so unique, but at this time in the world, how do you think about it?
I mean, dude, this is 15-year-old. I like to keep things really simple. This is the only 15-year-old I know. NVIDIA is a $2.3 trillion market cap company. I don't know what its earnings.
Real quick, this is this is them. This is both of them. Easier to see. Yeah, they're twins. I think this one's Austin.
I'm going to report tonight. It's been in the making for 25 years. It makes machines. It is most definitely not a finite resource. Bitcoin, its time has come to be on the world stage. I don't know any other 15-year-olds that have been invited into every private country club on planet Earth. Bitcoin has a membership forever now into every country club. 994 of the largest companies in the world just dropped 100 million each into these ETFs, and they're the small money. They're the small money coming into this. If you don't jump on this train right now, to me, this is the least risk, lowest price anyone's ever been able to invest in Bitcoin ever. Even the $30 guys, the $3 guys, the 3-cent guys. Okay, this is the cheapest point, $70,000 with what we know today, and we have war. It's sitting on our doorstep. Gold and silver are performing as if we're going to war. The world is in conflict with everything. All the old constructs, any construct between players on the global chessboard that were agreed to in the last 20 years, they're all being deconstructed. Why? They're failing to live in the world we're moving into. They're literally analog models, like remember the little trains that you used to play with when you and your brother? Well, they don't have any of those anymore because they're boring. They got cool things now, like remote control helicopters. And, so look, we're not going to go back to horse and buggy. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to move into a world where you and I aren't allowed to drive on a highway because we become the risk factor, right? So we're going to digitize planet Earth. This is the way I got really, really psyched up about Bitcoin. We are digitizing planet Earth, and nothing analog is coming with it. It's not going to even participate. It's like throwing a woman into, a Mike Tyson fight.
That's a great analogy. And I totally agree with you. The world is only trending more digital. Countries only getting more authoritative. The world is only, shoving us into these more centralized options. We need a decentralized digital way to opt out like Bitcoin. Now, you say that you put your money where your mouth is. Could you give us some indication how much you put in Bitcoin?
Well, now, that you should never ask that question.
Yeah, why would he ask that?
Shame on you for asking me how much Bitcoin I have. What a heresy. Let me put.
Yeah, that's kind of rude. You don't do that. That's kind of rude.
Put this way. There's a number of different answers. One,
that's like asking how much somebody's like wedding ring costs or something. Like you just there's certain things you don't ask.
Not enough yet. Two, let's talk about liquid net worth. My job here is to educate. I have no interest in influencing anyone to do anything. I bitch about how bad my education was, and I think the education around the planet's horrible. So instead of just bitching, I'm like, okay, I spend a few hours a week and make my contribution based on what I know. And I'm just sharing my journey with other people of how I'm looking at my own investment. So this is just me talking to me about how I run my money and my kids' money, if they're good, if they behave themselves. But I think about this as an allocation between net worth, what is my total worth, liquid and illiquid, versus liquid net worth. Okay, so I've allocated 85, 88% of all my liquid net worth into Bitcoin.
Wow.
There are businesses and activities that I have that if they were all to liquidate tomorrow morning, and it's large sums of money, if $200 million, for instance, dropped into me tomorrow because I liquidated one of my companies, I would deploy 88 to 90% of that into Bitcoin. Most certainly I would do it like right now, this second, today. I wouldn't even DCA and I just go blow it in. And the reason for that is that unlike most of the people that are listening to this, they're going to think, hey, this guy's crazy. The truth is, great wealth is not made by diversification. Okay, so if you think diversification is a strategy to get rich, you're wrong. Diversification is a strategy that is deployed once you get rich and you get scared. Okay, I've done this now 5 times. I will repeat it over and over.
Good point, though.
Find a freaking problem, get really involved in it, and put all your chips on the damn table. And don't take outside money. Like I've never taken anybody's money.
His net worth is $2 billion. Damn.
From debt or other investors. I just keep investing in my own company like Node 40.
Good for him.
You know, I deployed some of my Bitcoin money into Node 40 so that because I see Node 40 as an awesome tool to be able to track all this digital things that we're going to do in the future.
And in brief, I see Node 40 in your bio. What is Node 40?
Node 40 is institutional grade financial context computing system that basically turns any smart contracts, Bitcoin, Doge, whatever digital assets that you've been playing with, investing in, it protects you from a draconian overreach of an IRS, an inland revenue saying, hey, I need this much money. It literally will take any portfolio and spin out technologically a quality of earnings of what actually happened, where the money came from, when it moved, how it moved. Was it a liquidation event or was it just a transfer? It's my way of protecting my children from getting scavenged over $1 billion in Bitcoin when I'm dead, dude. When I'm dead, like people aren't thinking about this. If this stuff is worth $1 million one day, Bitcoin's worth $1 million, and I think it will be, you better be treating it like it's $1 million today. And that means keeping records, right? All the old stuff, Aaron, all the old stuff that the analog world needed, reporting, analytics, forensics, audits, that all is going to continue in the new world. The problem is you're not going to use a spreadsheet to do it, or a pencil and an eraser. 46% of people holding Bitcoin are going to get a divorce. 100% are going to die. Every Bitcoin holder is a seller. You're all sellers, dude. The question is going to be, when you sell it, is it a forced sale? And does the forced sale actually help your family? Or are you actually going to get hammered by professionals, auditors, $1,700 an hour lawyers who don't have any capacity to measure this stuff? And the flaws I've seen in accounting on this is staggering. So to me, I'll continue to buy. If I can invest in companies that help make this space more radically available to legacy players, that's good for the industry.
Definitely. Now, let me ask you this, Gary, because you mentioned you think, like Kathy Wood, like a lot of smart people, you think Bitcoin eventually hits $1 million. My question for you, though, is in the context of this cycle, whatever that is, the next couple years, 1 to 3 years. Finish the sentence. I think Bitcoin clears at least this price.
What's the time period? I just want to be clear on the duration.
It is.
What does that mean?
This cycle. So, a lot of people, in the past with Bitcoin's 4-year cycles, a lot of people would think that this cycle would top out near Q3, Q4 of 2025. So we have less than 2 years, but it's probably not going to happen exactly like the past. So I try to keep it a little bit ambiguous. It was more like, eventually Bitcoin's going to top out for the cycle, consolidate, and then keep going to $1 million. I was just wondering what your number was for like this cycle.
I don't know. And so I'll finish the sentence will be my answer. I don't care.
Okay.
Very smart not to answer that because he would get roasted. I hate when people like give predictions and then people people put them on the spot and ask like, hey, what do you think it's going to be at? And then people like say something and then it's like, oh, that guy's a moron. But it happens like 2 years later. Like, listen, nobody knows. Good fucking zero. You go to 100 million. Nobody knows. Like literally nobody.
I don't care because I'm not in it for the cycle. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. It is this cycle. This cycle is 8 to 12 years of the greatest transfer of power. Power, man. We're talking about not just wealth, power and freedom this planet has ever seen. Ever. Okay, that my 75-year-old sister or your 12-year-old sister can invest in Bitcoin today has never happened before. Okay, there's been never any time when the big old gold mine is found and the slaves get the trolley through it before the big boys show up. Never. Okay, the kings and the queens always get that's mine, thank you very much, and they give a little penance to the guy that found it or shoot him in the back of the head. This is truly a remarkable event, and if you believe that we're digitizing, this shouldn't even be about money. See, quite frankly, the only reason Kathy and other people are going $1 million is that, dude, if it can go to 1 million, it can go to 10 billion. When finite is finite, which means the price could go infinite, and it should go infinite. If there is a locked, I know people that spend 600 grand on an automobile, man. I know rock stars that'll spend $20,000 on some sneakers, okay, or $500,000 on a watch. I mean, I got a $3,000 watch here, and I probably paid too much for that. $500,000 for a watch. There's 21 million units. When these people figure out, okay, oh my God, first off, there is nothing finite on planet Earth, never has been, except human beings. And what do we do to them? Treat them like shit. Humanity does not have the ability to measure finite. Isn't that crazy, huh?
That is crazy.
So I don't know what this cycle is going to do, but I know I'm going to get bloody rich over the next 10 years and be happy doing it. And that I'm able to front run the biggest money on planet Earth, which, by the way, we haven't even seen come to the table.
We're so early.
It's not even shown up. I mean, I just went through metrics with Bitwise. It's freaking staggering, man. Like I've been doing this my whole life. I have never seen data like this.
Let me ask you this.
Do I sound bullish enough to you?
Yeah, you sound pretty bullish. And in our last few questions, I want to ask you about the crypto market as a whole. You know, some of the spaces you do, it's like Bitcoin centric, and there's a lot of reason to be, bullish on Bitcoin. First and foremost, it is, finite. But
real quick, I want to just like elaborate a little bit. So when it comes to Bitcoin, yeah, Bitcoin's a long-term game, but like, I still think you should take profits when you can change your life. Like if you can change your life, do it. You know what I mean? If you have life-changing money, change your freaking life. Like take it out, reinvest later. Like get your shit paid off, whatever you got to do, and then start over. That's what I'm going to do with the house thing, right? That's kind of why I got into crypto. It's like, I just want to pay off my house. Biggest thing I want to do is pay off my house. That's my number one goal. When I get to that point, it's happening. Like I don't care where it's at. I don't care what's going to happen in 10 years. I'll figure it out again, right? But if you have a chance to change your life, change it. My opinion. Everyone's going to die at some point, right? Is what it is.
The cryptocurrency market is exploding. Would you say you're bullish on crypto as well?
Crypto, no. I mean,
so you're more of a maximalist.
I'm a Bitcoin first guy. Okay. And this is the way I look at it, because I get grief from both sides. I've never seen kind of this dynamic. It does bug me a little bit, but I think it's the maturity level. It's the hypocrisy that pisses me off more than anything, but that's it for a different conversation.
I think a lot of people are changing their tune with like Larry Fink and, Bitwise and, all these high players saying, hey, we think there's value here.
Well, there is value. Look, we are tokenizing planet Earth. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because there's a lot of money in doing it. And also if you really roll out,
simplifies things too.
It's going to save a lot of industries. Like real estate will be saved by tokenization of multi-dwelling and commercial real estate. And I think that's what the Larry Finks and the Hinchcliffes understand. That's the real play for them. But the crypto world is a toilet bowl. And that doesn't mean there's not some good stuff in that toilet bowl. The problem is when you have an FTX and it flushes out, even the good stuff gets washed down. So is a Solana going to be a player? Look, I don't know. I mean, maybe, probably. There's so much to do. But what these other companies and entities and thought leaders are doing is they're looking at Bitcoin and saying, look, it's not perfect. Okay, it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect until it's all built. You have, we have released Ferraris into a world and there's no highways. There's no stop signs. There's no red lights, yield signs. You don't even have a regulatory process. We're using 1930 rules and construction. We have congressmen and senators who have Bitcoin on their balance sheet today, and I think they're just figuring it out. In the next 6 months, we're going to know that Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi both have Bitcoin on their freaking balance sheet. Think about it. Oh, no, dude. It's absolutely happening. When you see the list of ETF providers,
Did you say Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi?
No way these rich fucks aren't being allocated Bitcoin. And if it's not in this round, it's getting ready to be in the next round, because the next round is going to be the wirehouses. So every congressman and senator that I got a letter from a congresswoman today. Hey, what do you think about this bill? We want to know what you think about this bill. Is the right thing. This is the one that just came out like 6 hours ago or something. So they're all going to own it, dude, because they're going to get allocated into the ETF. See, this is really awesome. And once they get and see, oh, wow, $200,000 went to 450, but they're going to vote against it? No chance. They're going to support it.
Ethereum looks to be getting an ETF. Are you an ETH guy or?
I own 11 ETH, man.
Oh, really?
That's my bag. I sold all the Ethereum I had. I had a balanced portfolio, and I didn't like it. The more I looked at Bitcoin, the more I like Bitcoin and Ethereum are not the same thing, not even close. If Vitalik gets hit by an airplane, if he dies in his airplane, Ethereum prices will go down. You'd be stupid to think that a 30-year-old kid and his team could, like, over 5-6 years, create this organization that would be so well refined that it could handle a death like that. I just, what, Dogecoin isn't going to have a change if Elon, like, I have an option on, I bought Dogecoin. If Elon dies, I think Dogecoin goes up as a piece of memorabilia. So I bought Dogecoin. I think Dogecoin is a better investment than Ethereum for that reason and that reason only.
God damn, that's a bold statement.
But for me, it's a call option.
It's
a call option on X working, and they will need a payment rail. And why wouldn't they use a token like that? You wouldn't want to use a bold ass statement to do trades inside of X, dude. Like, I ain't using my gold. I don't use my 50 caliber M107 Barrett to shoot a woodpecker. Right? I use a BB gun. Right? Why would I waste that ammo? Using Bitcoin to buy potato chips makes no sense to me. But using a coin, a token, what's the US dollar? It's a token, man. Okay, it's just a piece of paper, though. It's a really analog token. So some of these guys are going to work, some won't. Bitcoin will be the stable player, and I'm cool with people competing with Bitcoin. It'll make Bitcoin better, more competitive, faster, and it gives us time for full adoption, full on global adoption. Mm-hmm. This is the way markets really work. And no matter what you want, this is how markets work. You have competition.
Yeah, that's really effed up to think about it like that. If something happened to Vitalik, that Ethereum's price would go down, and if something happened to Elon, Doge price would probably go up. That's crazy to think about. That's real crazy.
I appreciate you giving us your thought process. It's interesting to hear
it kind of makes sense,
and crypto and everything. One of my final questions for you, Gary, and I encourage everybody to go follow him, check out his links below, is this might be more of like a big picture, almost business advice, but certainly can be related to crypto. But you're a successful entrepreneur. A lot of people watching want to be where you are. What's your number one piece of advice to go from $1,000 to $1 million, like entrepreneurial advice or investing?
I would find people that I could really believe in, that I can validate. Like, when you ask me, hey, how much Bitcoin do you own? I don't get all freaked out about it. I'm like, bro, a lot. Not enough, but you're like hundreds and hundreds. I think 1,000 is the right allocation for me with what I want to do with the rest of my life. It'll take me a lot of pain to get there, but I think I can get there. I would grab hold of people that, really have quality value and learn from them. Like, be willing to be an apprentice, be willing to learn from, instead of looking at all these books, it's not teaching anyone, and then work your ass off, man. And the best way to turn 1,000 into 1 million would be go do some labor, add 10 hours or 20 hours to your work week, be the best Bitcoin miner you can be, which is generate fiat, immediately turn that fiat into Bitcoin, and then hold on and do nothing and go back to work. Okay, go mow the grass, go do whatever you need to do to make some more money. Turn it into Bitcoin. You will be the most successful Bitcoin miner in the history of mankind without stealing electricity.
Dude's dog.
Because that's where the great Bitcoin miners came from, right? They stole the electricity, and then they got a bunch of Bitcoin for free, $300. So, and get around high quality people, man. Always high quality people.
I really appreciate your perspective today, Gary. Thank you so much. Everybody check out his stuff below. Just, final question. Give us your final thoughts on Bitcoin, what you want the audience to know about Bitcoin, and certainly plug anything you want to plug as well.
To me, one should ask themselves why. Like, I didn't need to come into this industry. I don't need to do this. Why would a guy like me be like, I'll engage with a young guy like you and your brother and spend time talking about this? There must be something, and I'm not getting paid for it. What, other than me getting some likes and, hey, look at Gary. There's quite a bit of work, as you know.
Yeah.
And there must be something really, really important here. And for me to share so openly the wager I'm making is really my testimony to one. This is how I've done my whole life, is make these big, big, big bets. Real consolidated. Hey, I'm all in, bro. Listen, if I had some more, like I'm just looking around, dude, trying. If I could sell my art that I really love doing and buy Bitcoin, I would do that because I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And when one of these comes along, look, this is where I'll end. Ask yourself this weekend, what have you run across in your life that is finite, that cannot be manufactured? Okay, other than human beings, which we tend to devalue. What have you seen in your life that is truly finite? And if you come up with the same answer I came up, which is, I don't know anything, then I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is going to be the greatest investment opportunity with the least amount of risk. Like I sleep like a baby, man. I don't look at the prices all the time. I don't give up what the price is. The only time I want to know what the price is, oh, it dropped $20,000. Dude, sell something, okay? Sell the damn car, sell a house, sell something. But right now, what I'm doing exactly what I just told you to do. Hey, go mow some more grass, produce some more fiat, take the fiat every month, dude. I have real estate with my brother. I get distributions. This is like, I disagree with a lot of the old OGs that are going, hey, we're going to take money from pensions and bonds and real estate. We don't need to take anything from anything. What about all those distributions just rolling into Bitcoin? Because these people like me, we're already max allocated to all this shit. I can't buy any more watches, villas, airplanes, homes. Like I'm getting rid of stuff and then going, oh, let me take that and put it into Bitcoin. This is a 15-year-old child that's been welcomed in every rich country club on the planet, dude. That's awesome. I get to buy a little piece of that action in the first decade of its lifespan. Wow. To me, it's a no-brainer. How's that for an ending?
That was pretty interesting, actually. And Crypto Frank, that was funny as hell. when he was like, he just zapped his dog or opened the garage door, one or the other. You're probably not wrong. That's a riot. Anyways, all right, let's see. Let's get into the recap segment of things. We're gonna go raid Miss Randy Hipper. She's gonna be live in just a second. Bitcoin 68,137. Awesome. Ethereum 3765. I can't believe he said Ethereum might be a better a worse hold than Dogecoin. That's crazy. That's crazy to think about. But his logic there wasn't, I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad at all, actually. I do hold Doge, I hold Ethereum, I hold Bitcoin, Solana, LTC, KASPA. Like, I hold a lot of stuff. But man, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Dogecoin has a better chance than Ethereum. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the chat. Very, very interesting. Again, flashbang, fear of greed index is 73. As you can see, I got my kid right here. He's having a hard time today. This morning, apparently. So I gotta get back to daddy duty. But you guys are all fantastic. I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Let me just get this thing redirected over to Miss Randy Hipper. She will be live actually right now. I was gonna say in 5, but I think she's going live right now. You guys have a safe and happy Thursday. I'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is Friday, so end of the week. Let's do it. Guys, have a good day. I'll catch you soon. Peace out. Say bye. No. See you guys later. Peace, peace. Tomorrow's Friday. That's what I meant. Tomorrow's Friday. Not today. Peace, peace.
Eat shit, Gary.